A man once said that we should be grateful for some events because it gives us a window into how people think. And sometimes there's a flare goes up and it brilliantly illuminates all of the destruction around you and the true face of the people that we see on a daily basis. Now, there was a debate in the House relating to three prescribed, potentially described terrorist organisations where the government were debating, and indeed the full House were debating, whether to prescribe said groups as officially being terrorists. And so this enables the security services to move with some pace and speed and kind of shut these things down, because we don't like terrorists in the Western world, or at least we didn't used to like terrorists in the Western world. So there were three groups which were being debated. There was the Palestine Action people, there were the Maniacs Murder Cult, and the Russian Imperial Movement. Now, the last two, I gather, are far-right neo-Nazi groups. At least I know that the Maniacs Murder Cult appears to be some underground Eastern European neo-Nazi nasties who attempt to kill people, etc. They seem like quite a really nasty bunch. I didn't really research the Russian Imperial Movement, but I'm gathering they're of the same ilk, and I kind of gave up at the Maniacs Murder Cult. I don't like to think of these things happening in our society in Eastern Europe, but there they are. The government are prescribing them as a terrorist organisation. But of course, Palestine Action has gained a bit of traction in the modern mind of the liberal lunatic. And so, when this was being debated in the House, we can call them the usual suspects, because that's who they are. They are the usual suspects. They stood up and they had to say something, and they gave us a 100% 360-degree view of exactly who they are. So I've got a few short clips for you here. I've got like 6 clips just to show you. They're very short, but this is the interventions that these people made in the middle of when the guy who works directly under Yvette Cooper, because Yvette Cooper wasn't going to come out and do this, she got one of her minions to come out. He was very good. He batted off all the questions with very, very sensible answers. And for once, I have to praise the Labour Party. They've come out and they've done something about it. Eventually.
Jeremy Corbyn.
It's for giving way, and I'm grateful to him for that. I think the question that many of us want to put to him is, why has he linked these three organisations together? He clearly has made a judgment on each of the three organisations independently of each other. And I think it would be fair, and I'm sure many outside would think it would be fair, if we were taking individual votes on the three. Because many of us are very concerned about the issue facing Palestine Action, and that is the issue that we wish to address in the debate here today.
Mr. Dan Jarvis.
I can say to the right honourable gentleman that I will come on and explain with real clarity precisely why we have proceeded in the way that we have. But I suspect that he has a long memory, and he will recall, I'm sure, that when he's voted against prescribing a number of organisations previously, including Al-Qaeda in 2001, that particular motion was bundled along with 20 other militant organisations. So there is clear precedent for doing this. And I can say to him, the reason that we seek to do it is to demonstrate that we don't attach any kind of ideological prism with which to seek to make a judgment. The Home Secretary will take a view based on a legal threshold, and that is the basis on which we have proceeded.
Quite incredible when you look at it like that. I thought that was a brilliant rebuttal there. Jeremy Corbyn standing up, trying to be oh so logical and also fair and compassionate. Thanks for that, Jeremy. But of course, as the man outlined there, Jeremy Corbyn, 24 years ago, voted against prescribing Al-Qaeda as a terrorist organisation. Quite incredible when you look at it like that. And of course, that just smashes his argument into smithereens there. Around the time of 9/11, emotions were running very high in the Western world, but of course, Mr. Corbyn, he came out and voted against making those people terrorists. Just like he consorted with IRA terrorists, just like Mr. Corbyn is in favour of all of this rubbish that's happening on our streets. And really, after that vote, after the Al-Qaeda vote, we get to call him a disgusting individual. And he's lost all manner of propriety, bordering on a sickness, I would say. So, usual suspect number 2 about to come up.
Thank the Minister for giving way. The Minister will be aware that the High Court has granted Palestine Action permission for a legal challenge. Rather than the Home Secretary, who's not here today, rushing it through Parliament, shouldn't this be delayed until the judicial process has concluded?
Zarah Sultana there, and if you'd like to see hate on a daily basis, my advice would be to subscribe to her X feed. It's never-ending stream of absolute bile. But of course, within that, you caught a little schism that's happening in the Western world, and as one of my subscribers who often leaves comments on my channel, he made quite a profound comment about, isn't it very strange that it would seem that the Western world is going to be destroyed from within by the very thing which made it great, which is the law. I'm paraphrasing the words he used there, but you understand the sentiment. The Western world itself is being destroyed through lawfare, and you saw there. She hides behind the judicial system. The Supreme Court have said, well, we're going to give Palestine Action a bit of a run at us, if that's all right. I mean, these are our Supreme Court. You've got a group running around destroying military installations. And the law, the highest law in our land working against us. And this Zarah Sultana lady using that law against us and using the parliamentary process against us.
I thank my honourable friend for giving it away. Madam Deputy Speaker, I often show visitors the statue of Lord Falkland and the missing spur removed when a suffragette chained themselves to it. And I was here when protesters superglued their buttocks to the glass panel there, causing quite some scandal and damage. My point is, will the Minister confirm that criminal damage, no matter how creatively or indeed scandalously undertaking, will always be treated under criminal law and is not treated as terrorist acts?
And you heard them at the end there. Here. What are they talking about? If you've got a protest which commits criminal damage, then somebody needs to be arrested and somebody needs to pay for that damage. Fine, you want to go and do a protest, you want to stop society, you want to bring things into the spotlight, that's fine. Bring it into the spotlight. But who's going to pay for that? I'm not going to pay for that. If it means so much to you, you pay for that. And that point in itself is fine. But that really doesn't cover what we're talking about. It's a really ridiculous argument. What just attempting to do there is say, oh, well, if we go into a military base and we destroy millions of pounds worth of our army and military's infrastructure, that's just a bit of criminality, especially if it's from a terrorist group, right? And this is clearly ridiculous. Anybody can see straight through that argument. No, it's not criminal damage if it's committed by a terrorist organisation. It's called terrorism. Straightforward as that. And of course, that MP there is the MP for Newcastle. I know this lady quite well. I've watched her for quite some time. And, you know, it's a wonder that the city's still standing with people like her in charge. But I'll move on from that for another day, perhaps.
Diane Abbott.
On the question of Palestine Action, the Minister will be aware that very many of us in this chamber think that Palestine Action is in a different category from the other two organisations he's seeking to prescribe. And can I ask him, is he aware that several UN special rapporteurs, including those protecting human rights, say that they have contacted the UK government to say that acts of protest that damage property but are not intended to kill or injure people should not be treated as terrorism?
Well, that's the same argument as already been presented. I'm sure none of you need any reminders about Diane Abbott. The woman is a blight on our parliamentary system, always has been, an out-and-out racist who, every chance she gets, talks about colour and sees life generally through a lens of race.
Minister, can I just put on record that this heavy-handed approach threatens basic freedoms and sets a dangerous precedent for all political dissent in the UK.
I thank the Minister for giving way, and I thank him for some of the things that he's been saying. I just wanted to kind of pick up on the fact that all that he's spoken about there could be dealt with under criminal law. And the other thing was, when my honourable friend mentioned about the suffragettes, I think we need to put into context a little bit of history here, that when the suffragettes carried out a campaign of window smashing, poster paint defacement, cutting telegraph and railway lines, targeted bombing and arson, specifically avoiding harming people, I think we have to understand that there is a long history in this country of direct action which pushes the boundaries of our democracy. It's very difficult for all of us, but actually they are still direct action. It's not terrorist action.
So I acknowledge his point about the history, and I think that that is entirely reasonable context for him and others to raise. But ultimately, this government has to respond to events that are taking place in the here and now. And this government has to take sometimes difficult decisions about what measures are required.
And hear to that. Yes, this government has to take steps in order to secure the security of the people of the United Kingdom and protect our military installations. And if people are going to call themselves a group and they are going to go into these said military places and destroy property which the military is going to use to defend the people of the United Kingdom, then they have to be stopped, and that's called terrorism. Straight up. Now, I quite enjoyed Mr. Lewis's analogy with the suffragettes. And this is laughable. The suffragettes were in a different time, and they were wanting the women to have a vote in society, to be part of society as a whole, and to be viewed as equal members. Yeah, good on them, fine, needed to change. But that was something that was happening in this country. These people are ranting and raving about a conflict that we're not part of. Indeed, the Labour government, although I disagree vehemently with the stance of the Labour government on this, the Labour government have taken a stance en masse against the country of Israel, and they are in effect for the people of Gaza and aligning themselves with the UN and all of these bodies that are in the world that seem to be against Western democracies as a whole. So the government are actually saying, yeah, we kind of agree with you. So this group are going, yeah, but we want to destroy things. We want to go to all your military bases and destroy them. Absolutely ridiculous. That these people should feel emboldened enough to stand up in Parliament, to have their say, to try and protect an obvious, I might add, terrorist organisation is ridiculous. And it goes to highlight the state of Western democracy, the state of our parliamentary system, how it's been infected with this virus, and exactly who is or who are the enemies of our state. Well, I've just shown you who those enemies are. And whenever you see them in future, my advice would be to just immediately switch off. These people want to rip and tear at Western civilization because by and large they are socialists. That's what they are. They're all avowed socialists. On all of their feeds, you can go and look at them online and research them individually and you'll find the same thing. They want to destroy our country. And in one way we have to be thankful that they've stepped up and shown us exactly who they are. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it.